And welcome to the Merle and Locke podcast. I'm Merle.
And I'm Locke.
Set sail and low expectations for everything nerd, accompanied by a healthy, albeit shameful, helping pointless banter, lack of focus, and questionably hard knowledge.
And more.
And more. For today's topic, I want to get into friends influencing us into a particular way of thinking or a particular way of seeing things, whether it be things are weird, odd, cool, not cool, whatever it may be. Now, it's not something that I've dealt with very much in my adult years, but I was having a conversation with my daughter about the way she saw particular things, what she thought about it. And I'm always in the boat of, well, you say that with such conviction, that opinion that you have on it, but how did you formulate that opinion? She said that when she was with her friends, they all collectively formed this opinion about something, and she's quick to hop on the boat just to fit in. I was like, okay, I understand that if your friends all state an opinion about this particular thing, and then you hop on board, but truly in your heart, how do you feel about this particular thing? She'd think about it for a little bit, and then she would say, you know what, it's not really that bad. I mean, I was interested in it at one point or another, but just based on the people that I hung out with and the way they saw it, I decided not to pursue it. I expressed to her the importance of individuality, saying that you make yourself so much more uninteresting of a person if you're nothing but agreeable. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. This is where I just sit here and agree with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You definitely don't want to be the sheep. You want to be a little bit of a shepherd yourself, right?
Not leading the way necessarily, but
I mean, there's some cases where I feel like somebody needs to lead, right?
Well, this is the thing. It's not like we're a bunch of cavemen and we have to follow the alpha. We live in a society where we have the freedom to become individuals.
We're not cavemen? Wow.
We don't actually have to fall in line with people to fit into a group, you know, in order to survive.
Some people might, though.
Come on now. It's like, I feel like I'm making a pretty solid point here.
No. I just got to be the pain in the ass. Like,
okay, I get you. You got to be argumentative. It makes that podcast episode that more interesting.
Right. Somebody has to.
Yeah, no, I get that. Okay, so there are a few things when it comes to my child and thinking particular things are odd. There is some relief here and there with certain things, like this whole furry epidemic going on.
Is it still an epidemic? I've heard nothing about it.
It's out of control, apparently, especially with the kids. I think it stems from, I don't know what the movie is, and I never saw anything about the movie, but I think there's a Disney movie because there's always like a sing-song about it, right? And say like, I'm the alpha, I'm the leader, blah, 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 something like that. Well, I've gotten like little bits and pieces of the song. I haven't looked it up yet. I don't know if I want to, based on how influential it apparently is, because I myself do not wish to become a furry, you know, and I don't want to watch this music video and then be inspired to pursue that lifestyle.
Is that the Turning Red, right?
I'm not entirely sure, but it's apparently been very influential on the kids where, you know, they're just kids. They're just playing. I understand that.
See, what I grasp, if this is the movie that I'm thinking about, right? Like if people are taking it as a furry concept, woof, like that's nuts. But like what I grasp from even seeing a little bit of the movie is I'm thinking, you know, we're talking about a certain thing that only ladies get, especially once they reach a certain age.
Wait, we're talking about Disney movies?
Yeah, it's Disney, but it's a Pixar movie and it's called Turning Red. And this girl, she reached a certain age and all of a sudden she's turning into this very fluffy werewolf. That's the only thing that I know about. And people were freaking out and they're like, it's a movie for furries. I go, is it? My impression of it was that it kind of sounded like a menstrual thing. And especially they're like, yeah, you got it. And so did your mother. And so did her mother before her. And I went, oh, no, this is absolutely.
That's kind of interesting, giving young girls guidance through that. I don't know. I wasn't savvy to this movie. Maybe I'll have to. Well, no, my daughter's not into movies. She doesn't even like watching movies. So there's no point in being like, do you want to learn about your period?
It definitely doesn't do it in its way where it seems like they're talking about the period per se. I can kind of understand why people might think that it's about furries and coming out in a certain way. That's not what I got out of the story, but I guess that's part of storytelling, is where two people can get two different points of view from one story. But if you take some of the other key elements to it, right? So she's turning into this and she sees it as she's a monster. She doesn't want everybody else to find out. And she's wearing very conservative clothes, like she's trying to hide it. It's almost like she's ashamed of what she's turning into. It sounds like a certain something else. Now, I don't know. I'm not a lady.
I don't know if you do or do not turn into a werewolf. I'm not entirely sure.
Maybe you do. I don't know. I'll have to go ask Jane Doe, and then she might, this is it. This is it for the podcast. This is my say lovey. This will all be over.
Okay. Anyway, I feel like we're getting off track here. But I remember how when I was a kid, because it did bring me back, trying to fit in with certain people and then formulating an opinion of how I should think about a particular thing. And I expressed to my daughter, that you can do that. I understand the importance of trying to fit in with certain crowds, but you can still have your own opinion. Don't convince yourself that that's the way you think. It's something you grow out of, I feel like, naturally, but I want to express to her that she should never have to get into adulthood and learn this lesson for herself just because she wasn't savvy to it beforehand. I want to give her kind of a head start. It's just one of those little pieces of guidance that I wanted her to have moving forward, because I know I myself, whenever I started getting into hanging out with the skateboarders, the punk rockers, when that was all a big thing, and they hate everything, right? I felt like at one point I did start losing sight of myself because I wanted to be in with this particular crowd. I mean, it was short-lived, but in my case, as a kid, there was this period of separation that it's hard to achieve nowadays with kids, because kids are constantly connected through YouTube, internet in general, having constant contact with their friends from school. We didn't have that as kids. So there was a separation between that short time span at school and then home, where we could just be ourselves again. And I feel like I have to be on it with her just so she could maintain some sense of self. How about you yourself? You got any experience with this?
I definitely had a lot of friends and acquaintances who would force their opinion on me. And in part, I would also kind of force some of those opinions off on others later on. It was just the way of things, I feel. I had my whole radical views that kind of stemmed to be like, why are we in school? What's the point of this all? And I was trying to start that little rebellion. Why are we here? I felt like the school's job was to do certain things and not others. And I also was like, a teacher should respect the kids just as much as you should respect the teachers. Where I still remember what some of the teachers did that I don't feel was right to do to kids. We all have bad days. I get it. And then you get the pain in the ass kid like me who comes in acting like they know it all at the age of like 15, 16.
Yeah, naturally. I feel like people strive for this sense of unity. We all would love to have that, of course. But when it comes to opinions on certain things and being convinced of a particular way of thinking about it, we develop a sense of certainty. And at the same time, we're trying to achieve unity. But in my mind, certainty is the killer of unity. I mean, if there's all these different groups of people and they're all certain in their opinions of things, then we'll never become a unified people because we don't develop a way of finding common ground amongst others. Because we stay in our particular groups, and if we're all agreeable that we don't develop those skills to find common ground with our peers. And if we don't develop a way of finding common ground with our peers, there is no way in hell we'll be able to find common ground with people that we don't know or acquaintances and such. I just feel like we need to try and maintain that sense of self and question.
I feel that there's always going to be a level of opposition because that's just the way things were created to be. When you have a force, you have an equal and opposite force. It's just always going to happen. So no matter what opinion you have, there's always going to be people of the opposite mind, and it's just meant to kind of challenge you.
As if like that's just the way it's going to be. We're created to be disagreeable.
Certain people more than others. In turn, will be also less agreeable to certain people, right?
Well, yeah, that's the whole concept of individuality, is that you don't think how everyone else does. There are so many people in the world, so many different trains of thought. We are always going to disagree on particular things, but I mean, that doesn't mean that
I disagree.
Doesn't mean that we have to be enemies necessarily or rivals of any kind.
Nope, gotta be enemies. Always rivals.
Jeez. I guess there's no winning on this one. God. Fine, screw you, man. I'm out.
Yeah, screw you.
Whatever, dude.
See, I feel that was also an experience that we shared back when we were younger, is a lot of kids purposely being the naysayers just to get you frustrated.
Yeah.
You know those kids?
No, I know them. I know those adults.
Yeah, we're friends with some of those people too.
Not naming any names, of course.
No.
Friends, if you're listening to this, it's not you. You're not the one.
You're not the one.
If you enjoy the Merle and Locke podcast, please consider becoming a patron by going to patreon.com/Merle and Locke, or simply follow the link in the description. Thank you.